Hi guys, welcome back to Cat's Book Nook. Today is September 30th, so that means this is going to be a monthly wrap-up video. I am going to record my October to be read list as soon as I get done recording this video. This month I read 11 books. I was trying to do a couple more just to finish up a few books that I'd been listening to or reading. One that I was listening to and another one that I was reading that I started that, I'm just kind of not in the mood for it right now. Mostly because yesterday was kind of a bad day. Our vacation got transitioned to something other than what we were looking forward to, just because we didn't fully read the fine print on an all-inclusive Premier Plus resort. Please be careful with timeshares. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. I thought we were good. We weren't. So, change of plans. Anyway, 11 books this month. I did one 3-star book, just because I didn't particularly care for it. 8 4-star books, and 2 5-star books. Of those books, of the 11 books, 2 were physical books, 9 were audiobooks, so I'm leaning towards a more audiobook phase right now, just because it's easy to listen to on the way home. And with that, I'm going to tell you guys what I read. So this month, I got through, I am realizing that I am a serial reader, so I listen to a lot of serial books. I read a lot of serial books, and some of the books on my to be read list for October are part of the series that I started this month that I need to finish. I don't do a lot of standalone books. I'm not entirely sure why, but for some reason series just speak to me. So with that, the first series that I'm going to talk about is the trilogy of The Daughter and Smoking Bones by Laini Taylor. Guys, not only were the covers beautiful, the story was beautiful. Daughter of Smoking Bones introduces us to Akiva, Karoo, Mick, and I'm forgetting her name. I'm just gonna call her Zuzu. Zuzana. Sorry, named Zuzana. But introduces us to those characters, fantastically written, very well paced, very well. It sets us up for a cliffhanger. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about Karoo's role in the whole process. I cried towards the end because of what happens towards the end. I'm trying to do the spoiler-free option here, so I'm not trying to spoil it for you guys. But if you guys have read it, you guys know how fantastic this book is and how great the writing is for this book. I also finished Days of Blood and Starlight. Both of these were audiobooks. Both of these were the only 5 stars that I gave out this month. The Days of Blood and Starlight continues Karoo's story, introduces us to new characters that were fit in so well that you followed the story. They added to the story. They didn't take anything away from it. And a lot of times when people add side characters into trilogies, sometimes they get lost and there's really no reason why those characters should be in that story. Along with that, I finished, sorry, I'm trying to get to it. One of the physical books that I finished was Dreams of Gods and Monsters, which is the 3rd book in the Daughter of Smoking Bones trilogy. Again, continuation of the story, pretty well written. You don't really know how one of the side characters is part of the story until later on. You kind of get the feeling for it, but you're not entirely sure. The reason I gave this book 4 stars rather than 5 was the ending. The ending kind of felt a little ambiguous, but almost everybody gets paired up in the end. And I think Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, when she was talking about this book, said it really well with the whole kill some of your darlings to make a story maybe a little bit more realistic, maybe a little bit more, like, George R.R. Martin is very well known for killing off some of his darlings and killing off favorite characters, whether it's in the book or in the show. Sometimes those favorite characters come back as a different character, like Catelyn Stark and Lady Stoneheart. Sorry if that's a spoiler if you haven't read the books. I only know that fact because I watch a lot of Game of Thrones videos on fan videos and fan theories on YouTube. So I kind of wish you would have done that with the end. I don't necessarily like how neatly it got sewn up. But yeah, that's why I give it 4 stars. That's the only reason it didn't get a 5-star from me, was the ending. So that was one series that I finished. Another series that I started this month was Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. It happened to come on, I happened to find it on Overdrive, so I listened to this book. I only gave this book 4 stars. Mostly because of Grace's character. I liked Sam. I liked Sam's narrator. I liked Sam's story. I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more into Sam in this book, but he shows up in later books. So, obviously. But I'd like to see Sam's character explained and what happened to him explained a little bit more. But it was a decent story. And I do have Linger on my to be read list for October because I have it. Yeah. Another series that I'm listening to is the Lunar Chronicle series. So this month I got through Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. I like this book a little bit better than I did Cinder. A lot of people who have read this series like Scarlet better. Cinder only introduces you to a handful of characters. Scarlet introduces you to more characters and reveals more plot points. And Scarlet is a little bit more independent and knows where she's going, what she wants, how she wants to get there. Wolf's character, even though he kind of falls back in the storyline and falls back as a character, knows what he's going through and what he wants, because obviously he and Scarlet wouldn't have met had he not kind of gone his own way. So you still see Cinder. You get introduced to Thorn, who plays, I know that he plays a big role in the next book, or moderately big role in the next book. And then you've got, they talk about Kai in this book, and Cinder, things get confirmed for Cinder and for the people that she's bringing into her circle as kind of her, I want to say as like her confidant, but also her, I almost want to say court, because these are the people that are going to help protect her, I think, in the end. Again, I haven't read Winter yet, so I don't entirely know how Winter goes. So I don't know how this series ends. Another series that I started was Beautiful Creatures. And I'm listening to these on audiobook because they are really super thick books. A lot of these were super thick books. I was really surprised at how many thick books I got through this month. But Beautiful Creatures, like the narration, like the storyline. I know they're thick books. They are 16 plus hours long to listen to. And I listen to it on 1 speed. I don't move up or down just because, enjoy it 1 speed. We're good. But yeah, finished Beautiful Creatures. This was a 4-star audiobook. Then I finished Beautiful Darkness, which took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to. Again, 4-star book. Ethan is a stalker in this book versus he and Lena are just kind of getting to know each other. she's trying to figure out where she stands in the caster world, while he is trying to figure out why he loves a caster girl. And they're dealing with small town mentality in Beautiful Creatures, Beautiful Darkness. They're dealing with outside influences that shouldn't necessarily still be alive. And then in Dream Dark, the 2.5 kind of novella between Beautiful Darkness and Beautiful Chaos, is part of Link's story. Link in the end of Beautiful Darkness he gets bitten. They're not entirely sure how he's going to react to it, and it becomes very clear how he's going to react to it in Dream Dark. And then in Beautiful Chaos, it continues to... his powers continue to manifest, because he is now no longer technically kind of human. His name is Linkubus. So if you've read the series, you kind of know what that entails. The last series that I started this month, and I didn't even... this was the book that was on my... So each month, I'm going to start pulling a book from my shelves to read. Instead of just focusing mainly on library books, I'm going to actually start reading what's on my shelf. I'm trying to get to my Instagram. There we go. So that way I can... pictures and things. So, A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness is the book that I pull off my shelf to read this month. I like this book. It was very well told. It only got a 4-star though, and I don't really remember why I gave it a 4-star. Maybe because it sort of felt a little bit insta-lovey. But good book, solid story, even to the point I picked up the second book from the library the other day. Sorry, my dog's playing with my cat. It's hilarious. But A Discovery of Witches follows Diana Bishop, who is the last person in the Bishop line, who doesn't want to use her powers. And because she doesn't want to use her powers, there are consequences that come with that. And she ends up with a book in the first chapter that she isn't supposed to have, that nobody's been able to recall, nobody's been able to find, nothing. And then everything that happens after that kind of revolves a little bit around that book and her powers and her coming into her own with the help of Matthew Claremont, who happens to be a vampire. And in this series, vampires and witches and demons, while they know each other exists, they're not supposed to fall in love, they're not supposed to have any type of physical relationship. And you kind of see why, and then you kind of see how they circumvent that, and how both Diane's profession as a historian and Matthew's profession as a scientist, he studies DNA and evolutionary traits in things. You see how those two merge and kind of create the rest of the series. So I'm very interested to see how the rest of the series goes. And the last one, because I realize, take that back, there's 2 more, and then I'll stop rambling. So I read screenshots, give me screenshots. The Rosie Project by Graeme Simsion, I'm not sure how you say his name. It's part of a duology. The Rosie Project and the Rosie Effect, which I didn't particularly care for the Rosie Project. I'm not entirely sure how to explain why I didn't care for this book, other than I think the last chapter summed it up very well, in that had somebody asked a different question, or they started researching things differently, the whole story would have been completely done over with. Just, I'm not really interested in continuing that duology, but I might pick it up somewhere down the road just to finish this series, or this set. It it's really hard to explain why I didn't particularly like that book without giving spoilers, so I'm not. The only standalone book that I read this month was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This was a 4-star. I gave this a 4-star even though it was a toss-up between a 3-star and a 4 because of the ending. The ending, the book is basically what happens if you aren't a chosen person. In a small town in Washington, you have a group of friends, one who is actually like a quarter god, and then you have the other people that don't have any powers. They might be smart, but there's no major storyline. There's no Harry Potter in this group of people. So, and they call the people that are the Harry Potters and the Chronicles of Narnia kids and the heroines and the fairy tale people, they call them the indie kids. So the indie kids are always screwing things up, and it seems like every few years there's a new thing that's coming up. First you had the vampires, and then you had this stuff that happens in this book. And how they get past the situation while still having lives of their own. And I'm not really explaining this book very well. Yeah. The ending I liked a lot because not everybody's paired up with somebody. Not everybody is happy-go-lucky at the end of the book. Not everybody's like, oh, the day is saved. We can move past this. No. You get some of it, but these are high school students that just graduated high school that are looking forward to going to college and what the next set of adventures brings to get away from their small town, to get away from the indie kids, and I liked it for that fact. It was pretty well written. Interested to read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness because it's supposed to be really, really good. And then we'll see if I pick up any more Patrick Ness books. Just because that one was... It was okay. It was kind of like Matthew Quick for me. In terms of the way that it read and sort of the storyline was not necessarily... Like, it flowed like you knew kind of what was going to happen, and it progressed. The storyline progressed. So, yeah. Those are the 11 books that I got through. This video was already longer than I thought it was going to be, just because I explained the books a little bit more and showed you guys pictures, because I've actually already recorded this twice so far. And with that, I will talk to you guys in another video with my October to be read list. Right now I gotta run out the door because I gotta go pick somebody up. Talk to you guys later. Bye.